Polyp Works here, coming at you once again with One Piece, chapter 1102, entitled The Life of Kuma. So we have a cover request, right? This cover request is requested by Toshika Zoo. Toshika Zoo. Toshika, as in Toshi no Mi, as in the age fruit, Bonnie's dough fruit, and zoo as in animal, because the cover request is Bonnie not waiting to stuff her face at a meal with a pack of wolves, who carefully built up a huge stash of hot dogs. And we see Bonnie, who is putting ketchup on a hot dog. Bad move, Bonnie. Disgusting. But she's putting ketchup on this hot dog as she's nabbing these dogs, or I guess eating them as they come out, as the wolves are preparing them on this big conveyor belt. I find that very funny. Yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea. As the wolves are preparing the hot dogs, she's eating them as they're finished. That's incredible. That's good. I like that a lot. But yeah, this was made by Oda. I mean, of course it was made by Oda. It wasn't requested by anybody, though. I don't believe so. Toshika? That sounds like a fake name. I mean, someone whose last name could be Toshika, or their pet name could be Toshika. I don't know. That just seems too appropriate for what's going on here in the cover request. But anyway. Chapter starts, the Bonnie Pirates are established. It's the first time we see Bonnie in her trademark sun stockings, which now I think are just a Nika-ism, a reference to Nika. And what's interesting too is that she's carrying this big stick. So I'm starting to think that she prefers blunt weapons, this pole arm that she's using, much like the pipe during the proper events in the present of Egghead. I think she just is a pole arms user, but a blunt one, kind of like Sabo too, I guess, because she beats these Marines over the head with this stick and turns them into an old man and a child, respectively. And it's very funny that the Bonnie Pirates have now gained a reputation of harming towns filled with children and old people, which that's not even true. They were probably just bad guys that were afflicted with Bonnie's abilities. But their whole point in coming to this weird island is that they're looking for Kuma, but Kuma cannot meet with Bonnie. So as soon as they're close, Kuma sees them and he vanishes. And then something very interesting is said. As Bonnie is chilling out with the boys, Gil, Potato Tots, and the rest of the Bonnie Pirates, she says, if we're going to take it slow, then I want to look for Nika as well. That's what Bonnie says. Imagine Daddy's face when I tell him I found Nika at so-and-so island. Don't you think he'd be thrilled? That is very funny, because what I'm guessing now the dream is at this moment in time is to find Kuma, but the extra icing on the cake is to find Nika, which one of those things has already happened. So that's very interesting, especially given the context of this flashback. But yeah, this is during the time when Luffy had started his adventure, and we're at the end of the East Blue saga, because we see that he has gotten the 30 million berry bounty for beating Arlong. Jinbei says something very interesting, and it's interesting that Jinbei keeps coming up. A brat like this took down Arlong. Why are you surprised by that? I'm suspicious of Jinbei. I've always been suspicious of Jinbei, because there are little things that he says that don't seem appropriate. Yes, Jinbei, the one terrorizing the East Blue, the one you let go to terrorize the East Blue, has been handled by someone other than you. Shocker, really. Okay, whatever. And then Dragon says he's just going to Logtown. And when Sabo is questioning this, he says, I'm the boss, shut up. Which I'm like, okay. That's a good reason to inform your subordinate. Just tell them to shut up. I do what I want. I'm the boss. What? Like, okay, Dragon. What is this character, brother? What is he? I don't know. Kuma is looking at Luffy's bounty poster as well as Luffy comes up in infamy. But here's another interesting factor about Bonnie, and by extension the Bonnie Pirates, and this is some straw hat talk if I've ever seen it. Okay, so it said, here are our ironclad rules of piracy, spoken by a 10-year-old, by the way, but okay. plunder whatever you want from bad guys, rob them blind, and don't help a soul unless they really need it. She's a good girl. She's been a good egg from the start. No, she's good. She's very, very good. And I didn't know, because we didn't see this in Shiboni, but the coat is a part of her base design, which it's been shown more and more after the fact, which, like, duh, but I don't know, that's just interesting to me that the brown coat is like a key part of her look. I just never considered it to be, but it makes sense. And here is where we get why she wears the anti-eyebrow, the ring under her eye, because she thinks her father wouldn't recognize her completely well. So to replace the sapphire scale disease that was under her eye, she put the anti-eyebrow there. And that's how we come to the nickname of Jewelry Bonnie. And apparently Gil taught her how to put on lipstick. So of course he doesn't know. He's just telling her things. That's amazing. That's amazing how stupid that is. It's a look though. It's a signature look. But yeah, so she gave herself the anti-eyebrow, much like how Luffy gave himself his own scar under his eye when he was like 8 or 7 or whatever. So that's another comparison. I'm just saying, it's right there. It's right there. Bruh, it's right there. Okay, so the clones have been made, the Pacifista project is underway, and then we just get various flashes of Kuma throughout the story, like how he met everyone on Thriller Bark. And for my Zoro bros out there, rest assured, when this scene happens and he's extracting the pain out of Luffy for Zoro to take, he thinks to himself, this much damage may be enough to knock me out. So Zoro is stronger than Kuma, so you don't have to fret anymore. Zoro, oh, no. Zoro is stronger than Kuma, I guess, from this. Even though that wasn't even the point. The point is that it's a sign of dedication, which we kind of get from this whole merry-go-round of Kuma's expectations throughout the pre-time skip. So yeah, it's fine, everyone. It's actually fine. Okay, Kuma is informed about the Whitebeard conflict, and here is where we meet Bonnie for the first time, but from Kuva's POV. He's actually at the bar where Bonnie is chowing down at, and it's very funny. What's also interesting too, if you don't remember, Capone was also in the same place. So I find that funny. And she fought Capone's goons in Stampede. She's in everyone's conflict with Capone. I don't know why. That's very funny. But yeah, Kuma also witnesses while he's at Shibandi the punching of a celestial dragon that Luffy did within the auction house. So that's really cool, and it kind of puts Luffy in a higher, I guess, frame of mind for Kuma as far as being Nika-like goes. And this is a sign of high treason that hasn't happened for hundreds and hundreds of years, and Luffy was the one to do it. And then, you know, we get the famous scene of Kuma paw-patting everyone away. And this is a lesson that Kuma is teaching Luffy, that I'm pawing you all away so you can go off and grow stronger, because I do believe you are the one who will save the world. So he is entrusting everything to Luffy. And I guess by extension, Bonnie, because that's mentioned a few times in this chapter as well. An interesting conversation happens between Saturn and Vegapunk. So apparently, I don't know if this is still a thing, though it may actually lead to the death of Kuma, like the actual death of Kuma. Apparently a self-destruction device is put inside Kuma's body, but Vegapunk also mentions a switch that can alter Kuma's consciousness, like a split personality, which I don't know if that's a point for Kuma or a point for himself, because this technology might have been used to make his various satellites, like York and Shaka and Lilith and so on and so forth. I don't know where that leads. That could be installed in Kuma, but I'm more so leaning to that being a thing that was put inside of himself, because now we're in like the odd space between him constructing Punk Records and building the various satellites or growing them or however they're made. So yeah, this is a very weird point where we're not sure about anything, because at this point, Egghead is fully established. Punk Records is there. The island has palm trees, etc., etc. So Punk Records is there. The Labo phase is there. Everything is there. So the satellites aren't here. So I guess they were made over the 2-year time skip, which is really weird because that means technically all of them are basically children, but they're like adults. They're grown to be adults, but biologically, in terms of the times they've spent on planet, they are like a couple of months old. That's just an odd thing to think about. But yeah. That's what that means. So we know now that the memory bubble isn't Kuma pulling the memories out of himself, but he's copying the memories that he already has, which is a very interesting ability to have. So that means one can copy aspects of themselves with the pawpaw fruit and then bestow those aspects upon other people, which is a great intelligence tool when you think about it, which makes me think that if Kuma is going to die at the end of Egghead, which seems just appropriate to happen, kind of messed up that it would happen in front of Bonnie, but technically her dream would be complete because she did see him again, but in person after looking for him for 4 years at this point, I think, because she was 9 when she went out to sea, then she was 10 on the seas, then the time skip happened, so that's 2 more years. So yeah, after 4 years she would actually find Kuma again. But that's making me think that if he does indeed die, the fruit is still going to be in the story somewhere. I still hold true that Koala would get this fruit because she is the only person who is kind of in the same spot as Bonnie, someone who was technically raised by Kuma and is close to Kuma, and a person that Bonnie would ideally be okay with having her father's powers, especially seeing as how she most likely knows of Koala from Kuma's memories, because Koala is brought up quite a few times in this entire flashback that we just came out of. I still think Koala is a really big character moving forward because of all the things that are just involved with her. I've done videos about that. Go check that out. I will do many more in the future. But I just think if anyone were to have this fruit, it'd be her, because it just doesn't seem like a fruit you would write out of the story. Though the pawpaw fruit has done its due diligence in the story as a narrative device. I'm not denying that, but it's just kind of weird that we're seeing powers like the pawpaw fruit, like for example, the warp fruit, come up, and then the pawpaw fruit association with travel just seems too important to not use again, since it's such a big adventure fruit, because Kuma literally goes on adventures with the use of this ability for the most part. It's very interesting. So I don't think it's going to be completely written out of the story after he passes. That just seems like a very crazy impossibility to me. But if it happens, hey, it happens. And we have reached the zenith of things. Vegapunk wipes him, but before he wipes his memories, Kuma requests that he will be programmed after the whole Whitebeard conflict to go protect the Thousand Sunny, which of course we know because he's a lad. Of course he does this. We get a flashback of his life and we see all the people he's met. It's interesting that he sees Ivankov as he met him as a child. He doesn't see Ivankov in the present. He sees Ivankov in the past, which still makes me worry about Ivankov. It doesn't make me worry about Jenny, because he sees Jenny in both variants of her life. He sees Jenny as a child and he sees her as an adult. And then, of course, he sees Bonnie. So it's weird that Ginny gets 2 and Ivankov only gets 1, because technically they have had kind of equal impressions on his life, seeing as how these were the 2 people he really met that sort of started his journey to where he is now. And then, of course, Ivankov comes back in his life again. He becomes part of the Revolutionary Army. He and Dragon save Kuma and Ginny. So it's just weird that Ivankov only shows up once. I don't know. So I still think something may have happened to where maybe he doesn't trust Ivankov as much as he once did. Because it's weird too that he doesn't go to save Ivankov or covertly try to save Ivankov. That's weird. I don't know. That's just kind of weird to me. Maybe it doesn't mean anything. But that's weird to me. But yeah, he sees Ginny at both points of her life. And then, of course, he sees his baby. And then Vegapunk wipes his memories. And everyone is bawling. Sentomaru and the scientists are giving him a salute by praying, and as the sun is shining. So yeah, and he leaves the fate of the world in the hands of the man whom he thinks just might be Nika by the actions he has witnessed. And also the whole rubbery body thing they talks about with Vegapunk, because he says it'd be great if there really was a warrior out there putting smiles on faces using the rhythm of liberation, the rhythm that I taught Bonnie. See, there's too much comparison here to me. There's too much of he would be satisfied if Bonnie really did find Nika and just so happens to join his crew. It just seems too perfect to me. I can't see her not joining. That doesn't necessarily mean anyone else won't join, because I'm still holding out for Carrot, and Vivi feels nearly assured, because that's the plot implications of that are too heavy for me, dog. But yeah, I think Bonnie's gonna be our 10th. And yeah, Kuma is wiped. And then we flash back to the events before the events of 1090, when Luffy mentions that Bonnie's attitude has changed and like how she doesn't want to kill Vegapunk anymore. It's because now she very much indeed has viewed all the memories that were held within this memory bubble. What's interesting too is that I'm wondering if the bubble technology that the Pacifista Mark IIIs use are a offshoot or an understanding of the principles of how the pawpaw fruit makes bubbles, or replicating what the pawpaw fruit does using the bubbles found on Shibondi Archipelago. Because both of those fit. Because it's that and like the bubble gun Lilith uses. I know, because Vegapunk said he could study the memory bubble without touching it, because what I forgot to mention is that once you touch the memory bubble, it disappears. So once you touch the copy of the memories disappear. And then he just had a special containment unit to hold the bubble in stasis while touching it. So unlike the pain bubbles, that presumably will just stay in a spot forever until someone touches it. So I don't know, that's just interesting. That's interesting. But yeah, we know why she was crying. Bonnie knows everything. So yeah, we're all going to get her resolved soon, I think, because all that we've been seeing, the history of her mother, the history of the Revolutionary Army, this whole flashback was being viewed by Bonnie as we were reading it. So this really starts to put things into perspective of what she is. And of course, her final message that she gets is Kuma wishing her a happy 10th birthday. And again, we end with 10. I'm just saying, we end with 10 again. So it's very funny that the 10th member was actually 10. I just find it hilarious. But 12 could be an important number too. That could be the number of straw hats that we get. I don't know. Like in total, outside of Luffy. That could be. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it's really interesting where we are. There is a break next week, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is, because I think this is the winter break for Jump or something like that. And yeah, that's going to be it. Oh, forgot to mention, Luffy is on the cover of Jump again this week. He's throwing a snowball at the audience, which is very cool. And that green guy named My Hero Academia is also there, and the pink man from Jumba Juice is there. And that's funny. But yeah, that's about it. That's about it. More videos, as always, coming from me over the course of the week that we are on break, because I make 1 billion shorts a month now. So yeah, talk to you guys later. Give me your thoughts, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.